We are so back. I understand. I know. I've been on sabbatical. Okay? So let's start with that. I've been on sabbatical. And this shit. Hello? Okay. I know I've been on sabbatical for a while. Since the draft, things have been a little crazy. A little crazy. Had some things going down in the family. A lot. Then outside of that, had things happen to me, and then just been so much going on that I had to take time away to deal with everything, process everything, so on and so forth. But what better time to start getting back into the flow of everything than, you know, week 0 of the college football season? And I know the last time we talked was the draft, and with that, a lot of things happened. This mic is pissing me off. Can we be more professional? That's a great question. That's one of the questions of all time. But we're here. We're back. And let's just get right on into it. This is the Fumble Pod. We're back. We're so back. For starters, we're about to enter week 3 of the NFL preseason. The draft has happened. It has came and went. For the most part, we had a lot of the top picks, right? Are we shocked? No, because you're talking to a genius. But now training camp has came and gone. Some of the rookies have showed out. Some injuries have happened. There's been some injury scares already. So far, there hasn't been a super notable injury to occur. But most teams are healthy or taking precautions to be healthy. Outside of my Carolina Panthers. Not even a full day into, I think, the first day of training camp. And Nick Scorton, ACL, done. A couple days later, Brazel messed up his knee, done. So I'm like, okay. And currently, Xavier Legette walking around in a boot. Okay, that's great. Offensive line, beat up. Taylor Moton, all the prayers for him. He's dealing with blood clots. I'm not even worried about the fact of when he going to play football again. It's more so a get healthy, get right, take care of yourself. I remember I'm also a Miami Heat fan, so I relate to that in terms of what Chris Bosh was going through way back when, that kind of ended his career a little early. So take care of your body first. Luckily, they drafted Monroe Freeling, who in spots has been a little questionable. He obviously wasn't the number 1 tackle in the draft, but he's a hell of a prospect. Great run blocker. Pass protection is a little shaky, but so far he's kind of stepped up to the plate. There's learning curves. He's having to adapt with all that, but outside of that, he's been solid. Jeremiah Love has looked phenomenal. And then all the other top rookies, Mendoza has been a little up and down. You can tell he's trying to get a little more comfortable with the system and the playbook and all that. Threw an 80-yard touchdown his first game starting to the defense. But that's besides the point. It was a touchdown for 80 yards. And that's all that should matter in the grand scheme of it all. But we're getting right here towards actual NFL football. Like, today is the 27th of August. They play on the 9th, Wednesday. Not next Wednesday, Wednesday after. So we're like right there. Right there. And this week is week 0 of college football. Football, in my opinion, is back. Sure, there's no great matchups this weekend. There's some, what I like to call, some hate watches, okay? The NC State Wolfpack play the Virginia Cavaliers. in Charlottesville, and UNC plays TCU in Ireland, which is the weirdest. I say the weirdest. I know college football the last handful of years have had a game in Ireland. The one last year was Iowa State and Kansas State, which was a good, entertaining game. Granted, that was supposed to be two ranked teams, and both kind of fell off towards the end of last year. And then the year prior was when we had FSU, that was a top 10 ranked team, being led by DJ Ugalungale, or ukulele, however you say it. I think both are technically wrong, but that's besides the point. When they got upset by Haynes King and that Georgia Tech team, before they kind of like were good. So there's some of that, and then there's like San Jose State versus USC. There's just a handful of games, but this is the point where it's like, okay, these are going to be games that actually matter, and I'm so pumped. It's going to be kind of like our first real look at some college teams, some college, you know what I mean? I'm sorry if I'm a little rusty. We're kind of trying to get back into the flow of everything here, but I'm so excited. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of do some predictions. We're going to do some predictions on both NFL and college. Kind of our who's getting into the playoffs, who's winning the division, so on and so forth. We're going to start with NFL. I'm going to pick my divisional winners, and I'm going to pick my 3 wildcard teams on each side. And we're going to go from there. So in the AFC, we're going to start in the AFC East, which would be Patriots, Dolphins, Jets, and Bills. I understand Patriots won it last year, had a great year, have had a really good offseason. They traded for A.J. Brown. The defense is still going to be strong. But I still think this is the Bills' division. They've got DJ Moore. They had a good running game. They've promoted the OC to the head coach. And I only think that's going to help Josh Allen, James Cook. He's got DJ Moore, who isn't necessarily I would say a fringe wide receiver one. So he has a lot of the characteristics as a former Carolina guy. I watched him play for years. He's a good receiver. Gets open, he makes plays, great run after the catch. He's almost kind of like a bowling ball at wide receiver. Just breaks tackles. I think it's going to work really well. Plus, you get to play the Jets and the Dolphins twice a year. I mean, who wouldn't want that as a division? I got the Bills winning the division easily. I think they go 12-5, 11-6, just about like they did last year. Got them winning their division. AFC North, Ravens, Bengals, Steelers, Browns. We can go ahead and write off the Browns. They just announced Deshaun Watson as a starter. I think he hasn't even thrown a touchdown yet in the preseason. If he has, it was a fluke. I don't know. Browns are off the table. It's really a 3-man race between the Bengals, the Ravens, and the Steelers. And if we're looking at complete rosters, I'm leaning kind of towards Baltimore and Pittsburgh. The Bengals, I think, will still be in the mix as long as they can kind of keep their big 3 healthy. If they can keep Burrow upright, Jamar healthy, and T. Higgins healthy, they always have a chance. They always do. And they've helped on the defense. They've drafted some pieces, got some free agency. So hopefully they don't have like a bottom 5 defense. I think if they have an average defense and a healthy year from the offense, they can be right in the mix. Kind of like Baltimore last year. That defense took a steep dive back. And I was kind of say for the first time, we kind of saw the regression of Derrick Henry. Not saying he fell off the face of the planet. Still had 1,000 yards, still had a good year. We saw more of the fumbling issue. And he had less touches, not because I think he was ineffective, but because there were so many games where they were having to come from behind. And Lamar missed some time. I believe he missed 5 to 6 games. and yet came down to the last game of the season, win and get in. Kicker kind of folded and allowed Pittsburgh to win the division. With that being said, Pittsburgh, I think, still has a very good, very complete roster. This is going to be the first year being coached by Mike McCarthy, who's an offensive guy who, looking at his track record, yeah, he's only got the one Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers, but he wins. He consistently wins. He gets teams to the playoffs. He's got a older, not as mobile, not as strong of an arm, Aaron Rodgers, and he has surrounded him with some decent pieces. He's got DK Metcalf. He's got Pat Freiermuth. They went and got Michael Pittman Jr. in the offseason. They got some decent pieces. The offensive line isn't the best, but it's serviceable, I would say. It's going to be a matter of, can they give Aaron a run game? And can this defense fully step up? They were looking patchy at times last year. Towards the end, it got a little better. But Pittsburgh's always been known to have a stout defense. I think it's going to be a dogfight between the top three. And I'm going to take Baltimore. I like their core just a little better than Pittsburgh. So it would not shock me if it was like Baltimore 11-6, and then Pittsburgh 10-7, and Cincinnati 9-8. Would not shock me a bit in the world. I think that's arguably one of the tougher divisions in football, outside of Cleveland. But I'm taking Baltimore to win that division. We go out to the West, AFC West. You got your Chiefs, your Chargers, your Broncos, and Raiders. I think the Raiders will be towards the bottom, but I think it's going to be a competitive bottom. It would not shock me if they go 6-11, 7-10. They're kind of lost in some one-score games. They got Kirko. He's going to be the starter. They're going to try and give Mendoza time to get comfortable and get ready. But they attacked heavily in free agency, the defense and offensive line. And I think that's going to pay dividends in the long run. Because I think they have somewhat decent weapons. Obviously, you got Brock Bowers. You got Genty in the backfield. We just saw what Kubiak did in Seattle. Very run heavy, play action, make the quarterbacks comfortable. I think they'll be able to do that at times. But I do fear that because of the lack of elite defensive talent outside of Max Crosby, they might be behind a lot. So there's going to be a lot of less play action, more so just having to drop back and sling it. And I think that's where things get tricky. I'm going to take the Chiefs as third again. I mean, they haven't really done anything notable in the offseason outside of getting Kenneth Walker. You traded away Trent McDuffie. You haven't really addressed the offensive line issue. Your wide receiver core is a little questionable between... I mean, Rashee Rice is your number one wide receiver, and then you got Xavier Worthy, who both have kind of injury issues, more so Worthy. Rashee Rice, he just can't stay out of trouble. I don't know if you can truly keep Mahomes upright. And then you got the question of, how effective is Travis Kelce really going to be? He hasn't really been effective the last 2 years. He's only getting older. And that's kind of the same thing we're preaching about this defense with Chris Jones, Karlaftis. The secondary is a little shaky. I understand Andy Reid and a healthy Mahomes will always be competitive. But it wouldn't shock me if this team goes 8-9, 7-10. Because this division, for a while that was kind of is now pretty good as well. Especially when you start looking at the Chargers, led by Jim Harbaugh. They're a tough, gritty, run-the-ball team. Marion Hampton, who I think is going to have a breakout year. He looked solid last year. He missed some time with injuries. I think he can, if he can stay healthy and their tackles can stay healthy, he's an easy 1,000-yard bag. Justin Herbert, if man, I understand. But is a very good quarterback. Very good quarterback. They have a solid group around him between Lad McConkey, Rondé Gadsden. He's got guys, Quentin Johnson, who at times showed the flashes we saw at TCU. And then Jim Harbaugh always has a good defense. I think they're going to be a hard smash nose. We're going to punch you in the face. They were last year, and I think they will be again this year. But I still think this is going to be the Broncos division. Hands down, arguably the best defense in football. You got one of the best offensive play callers in Sean Payton. You got Bo Nix, who's coming off of an injury. But you went and got Jalen Waddle, who can take the top off and stretch the field. You got Cortland Sutton. You got R.J. Harvey in the backfield. You have a great offensive line. It wouldn't shock me if they run away with the division and get a top 2 seed again, like they did last year. Because I would make the argument, had Bo Nix not got hurt in that Bills game and was healthy when they played the Patriots, they win that game and might win the Super Bowl. I think it'd been more competitive than what the Patriots did, but they would have been in that argument for sure. So give me the Broncos to win that division. And now we go to the South, the AFC South, where we got Titans, Jags, Colts, and Texans. I do still think the bottom of this division is going to be the Titans. I just think it's a slow rebuild. They're adding pieces. They're going to get the Robert Saleh effect, which should help the defense. It's just a matter of how much is he going to be able to help and develop Cam Ward, who I think was a good prospect coming out of college. He only needs weapons in time, trying to develop the offensive line. I think it's just going to be a slow roll, matter of time, getting him to where he needs to be. Which isn't necessarily a bad place to be in. It's really not. It's just a matter of getting over that hump. Getting over to where you're kind of the punching bag of, I'm not going to say the punching bag because the Browns do exist, but that level of a team. I think they're still going to hold down the bottom. They're going to be the rock bottom of the AFC South. Because if you look at other teams, they just have a lot more going on. The Jags, I think, will probably be the third place team. We got 1 year of a good Trevor Lawrence. You took away his best running back. I don't know what to think of his receiving core. Jacoby Myers was good. Brian Thomas fell off last year. You got Brent Strange, who emerged and was really good last year as a tight end. The offensive line's solid. But you got no ETN. You're going to run it with Basal Tootin. I don't know what a full year of that looks like. The defense, you lost some pieces. Devin Lloyd became a Carolina Panther, was your leading tackler. Travis Hunter, I think, is going to exclusively play corner instead of wide receiver. So I don't know what to make of that defense. I don't know what a second year with Liam Cohen's going to look like. I just think you're going to be forced to be in a lot of shootouts. And I don't know if that really works with this team and the way they're built right now. Especially when you look at the other two teams in the division. Give me the Colts second. We saw what they were when they had Daniel Jones. Jonathan Taylor was running all over the place. Alec Pierce was stretching the field. Josh Downs was kind of their intermediate guy. Tyler Warren was phenomenal. And Daniel Jones, you were like, look, all you got to do, you don't have to make splash plays. You just get the ball out on time and let the playmakers do their thing. The defense is also a little spotty, but I think they're a little more fundamental on that side. And they got more weapons that I trust on their offense. But arguably, not even arguably, I would say the best defense in the NFL is the Texans. I mean, you look at their all 11 guys, and it would not shock me if 7 out of the 11 are all pros, first team or second team. I mean, you got Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter coming off the edges. You got Derek Stingley. You got Jalen Petrie. You got Al Shair. You just got guys everywhere. And they play hard and aggressive. That's that D'Amico Ryan's play style. We saw him play in the NFL. The guy was an absolute maniac. And now he's translating that to a coaching level. And it's phenomenal. The biggest question mark is this offense. What are you going to get out of CJ Stroud? What are you going to get out of this run game? This offensive line has yet to look good. You got Nico Collins. You got Tank Dell. You got Dalton Schultz. You got Woody Marks and David Montgomery in the backfield. The offense is the only thing that I fear is going to hold this team back from being a Super Bowl caliber team. Because the defense is there. The defense will win you 10-plus games, win you a wild card game, and keep you somewhat competitive in the divisional. But if you don't have consistent quarterback play, it's just, I don't think it's going to work. Not saying it's CJ Stroud's fault entirely. Some of it I question. But that offensive line is atrocious. But just because of how dominant that defense is, I'm taking them to win the AFC South. So that means we got Baltimore, the Bills, the Texans, and the Broncos as your 4 home teams. Your 3 wild cards, in my opinion, is probably going to be Patriots, Chargers, and either the Colts or Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. Which, I mean, I think sounds fair. I think my shocking team to get in would probably be Cincinnati out of all of them, just because I got more question marks about them than anybody. But I think the AFC is going to be a slaughterfest like it was last year. Now moving to the NFC. NFC North, we're looking at probably the toughest division in the NFL with Minnesota Vikings, the Bears, the Packers, and the Lions. Bears won the division last year. They're looking to try and go back-to-back. The Lions are still arguably a top 5 roster in the NFL. You've got the Packers, who are always consistent. They got a quarterback that's under the radar, is what people have been saying the last couple weeks now, just because if you look at his numbers through his first 3 to 4 years compared to Favre and Aaron, they're better than Favre's and they're on par with Aaron's. Year 4 was when the first 2 won their MVPs. I'm not saying he's going to win the MVP, but normally history repeats itself. But I don't know when Mike is going to be back. I don't know really how well that defense is going to play without him. We saw how poorly they played without him. And then I got questions all around the offense. Romeo Doubs is gone. He's gone to New England. Christian Watson's good for maybe 6 games a year. Tucker Kraft's coming off of an injury. Josh Jacobs can't stop beating women. So it's like, what are you going to do? This is when I need to see if Matt LaFleur can truly coach. Because if he can will this team to double digits, I give him all the credit in the world. It's just, I don't know. I still think they're not going to be the worst team. I do think it's going to be Minnesota. It looks like J.J. McCarthy's time might already be up after 1 season as a starter, because they brought in Kyler Murray. He's been announced as a starter. J.J. McCarthy has been taking shared second-team reps with Carson Wentz, a guy that most locker rooms will say they don't like. But the guy's a gamer. You put him in for a game or two, he almost has like the Jameis Winston effect. He is like the white Jameis. He doesn't give a damn. He's going to throw that ball and just go out and be a gamer, which is exciting to watch. Don't get me wrong. But you got Justin Jefferson. You got TJ Hawkinson. You've got several good pieces on this offense that should be good. The defense, being coached by Coach Flores, Brian Flores is a phenomenal defense coordinator. They were a great defense last year. I still think they're going to be a really good defense this year. It's just a matter of how much is the offense going to hold you back? That's why I'm putting them in fourth because of the offense. I'm going to put the Packers third just because there's question marks there. And then I'm going to put Chicago second. I think a second year Ben Johnson, the offense will still be phenomenal. You got Luther Burden. You got DeAndre Swift. You got Kyle Monungai. You've got Rome Odunze. You got Colson Loveland and Cole Kmet still. Like, you've got weapons. The offensive line's pretty good. Darnell Wright's kind of dealing with an injury right now, but we don't know how serious that is. The defense has some pieces, but we need to see some growth. We need some consistent pass rush from them if they want to be any form of, like, successful. And they were really good in one-score games last year. I'm worried there might be a slight regression in that, but I still think a second year of the same system for Caleb Williams should only get better, especially if the run game can be as good as it was last year. But I'm taking Detroit. I mean, they have the best roster in this division, arguably a top 5 roster in the league. Jared Goff is a solid, I hate to say system quarterback, but he knows what he's good at and what he's not, and that's reading the defense and getting the ball out quick. And he's got the playmakers to do it. He's got Sam Laporta, he's got Jahmyr Gibbs, he's got Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's got Jamison Williams, even this Tesla guy that kind of popped out of nowhere last year. He's got a great offensive line as well. They can kind of do whatever they want on offense. The defense, when healthy, is also really good. You got Aiden Hutchinson. You've got Kirby Joseph at safety. You got guys everywhere that can make plays and be really good. And we saw at times this defense be really good. Their defense was the reason why, in my opinion, they didn't go to the playoffs last year. I think they address it. I think they get better on that side of the ball. And I think they win the division. It wouldn't shock me if they win 11, 12 games. They're too talented to not win double digits and go to the postseason. So give me the Lions. NFC West. Cardinals, 49ers, Seahawks, and Rams, dude. Obviously, we're just going to throw the Cardinals at the bottom. Is that really shocking? Your starting quarterback's Jacoby Brissett. You have no offensive line. Use the top 3 pick on Jeremiah Love. Your defense is not very good. You're going to have to show me something. I mean, you got Trey McBride, fantasy PPR legend. That's really about all you got. Then you look at the other 3. 49ers, substation incidents are happening. They were so depleted at wide receiver, they brought in Fat Debo back. Debo Samuel's back. Mike Evans hasn't really been healthy the last several years. You signed him to a decently big deal. Brock Purdy, you need to stay healthy. The offensive line needs to stay healthy. The only player that was consistently healthy last year was Christian McCaffrey. And yet, with that and the amount of injuries you had on defense, you still were competing for a playoff spot. I give them all the credit in the world. I think if they're healthy, they're really good. But I still think they're the 3rd best team in this division. Because the Seahawks, who are defending Super Bowl champions, are better top to bottom. They only have to replace 2 of their main 24-ish main starters. I understand there's 22 on offense and 22 on defense. But they have rotational guys. They lost Kenneth Walker. They lost a corner. Tariq Woolen? Yeah, they lost Tariq Woolen. But outside of that, they brought back the main core guys. They drafted Jadarian Price to play running back, along with Zach Charbonnet. So I think it's a nice little 1-2 combo. But let's see how this offense looks now that Kubiak is gone. They hired from within, which more times than not doesn't work out because even though the guy worked with Kubiak, he doesn't think and operate like Kubiak. So we got to wait and see how that looks. And I mean, the Rams have to win this division, especially after you went and traded for Myles Garrett. You got last year's MVP. You got Puka Nacua, who is a dog. You got Kyron Williams and Blake Corum, 2 really good running backs. You got a solid offensive line. And the defense is young and getting better. You add Myles Garrett, you give up Verse, but you get Myles Garrett to play opposite of Fisk. And now there's reports that Aaron Donald might come out of retirement to play with his team. Like, what do you do? What do you do? I don't know how you block that front four. Truly, I do not know how you block that front four. I don't know. I don't know. You might have to use 7 guys, and even then, I don't know if it works. I don't know if it works. That team's going to be scary. Very, very scary. They're probably my early favorites to win the Super Bowl. Just because top to bottom, they have so much star talent. It's going to will them easily to 12 games, if not more, in terms of wins. I would definitely pick the Rams. NFC East. Cowboys, Eagles, Commanders, Giants. I think Giants are going to be the bottom of that team. I'm excited to see what a full, healthy year Malik Neighbors and Jackson Dart look like. Hopefully with a healthy Cam Scatterbo, those 3 guys can be electric. You brought in John Harbaugh, who's a great culture builder. Your defense was already really good last year. And for the most part, you had your couple breaks, but you got a really good front four. Your secondary is a little questionable. You just got to develop and add to it. But they can be a feisty 6-win team, in my opinion. I think them and the Commanders are about the same. I need a healthy full year Jaden Daniels. I question the defense. The offense, if Jaden Daniels isn't playing, is very stagnant. You got Terry McLaurin. I don't know what to make of those 2 teams, truly. It's more so about the Cowboys and the Eagles. I think the Cowboys are taking the right steps to be a really good team again. Your defense was bad last year, so what did you do? You addressed it in the draft by drafting a pass rusher. You traded for Quinnen Williams. You've got the offense figured out. Javonte Williams will probably be another 1,000-yard back. You got Dak, who's good for 30, 35-plus touchdowns. You got George Pickens. You got CeeDee Lamb. You got Jake Ferguson. You have arguably another great offensive line group. The offense last year won them almost 7-plus games. If your defense can be average, they probably win 10-plus games or are in the postseason. But I do still think that the Eagles have the better roster. They've got more talent outside of A.J. Brown leaving, but then you let them get Mekhi Lemon to play next to Devontae Smith. Dallas Goedert at tight end. You still got Saquon Barkley. Jalen Hurts, he just knows how to win football games. And you have a complete front 7, along with some really good secondary pieces. You got Cooper DeJean. You got Quinyon Mitchell. You got Jordan Davis. You got just guys everywhere. I think they win the division. It would not shock me if it comes down between the Cowboys and the Eagles, which is normally how that division goes. But I think both will be double-digit win teams. And then we get to the NFC South. My home. I think the Saints are going to be the worst team. I know a lot of people are high on them. They just signed Travis Etienne. They got Tyler Shuck. They drafted Jordan Tyson. And they got Chris Olave. They got guys. Jordan Tyson, coming out of college, already had an injury issue. And throughout the preseason, has done something to his hamstring, enough to where they're saying he's going to be out till October. Chris Olave's got a nagging injury right now. Alvin Kamara, who's, I guess, supposed to be the second back, sharing carries with Travis Etienne, he's banged up. So now you're looking at Tyler Shuck and Travis Etienne in an aging defense that wasn't really that good last year. I don't see where I think they can win 6-ish games, but I don't see them taking control of the NFC South. And then I got the Falcons kind of right there with them. Don't know what they're doing at quarterback. Michael Penix is coming off an injury. They signed Tua turn the ball over. So supposedly, I don't know who's going to start week 1 for them between the two. I think they're hoping Penix is back, but I'm not 100%. But they got a great offense. Got a really good offensive line. You got Bijan Robinson. You got Drake London. You got Kyle Pitts. Like, you got guys on offense. And the defense, I don't know. James Pierce has been suspended for 8 games. Jalen Walker is out for the year. I think he had an ACL. Your secondary outside of A.J. Terrell is a little suspect. Your linebackers are a little suspect. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be consistent enough to win a lot of football games. And then you got arguably 2 best teams in NFC South, the Panthers and the Bucs. Hear me out. The Bucs are really good. They're going to be having a pissed off Baker Mayfield. He wanted a contract extension. He gave him a deadline to OTAs, training camp. Couldn't reach a deal. So this is the final year of his deal. It almost looked like you were going to lose Vita Vea too. But you gave him an extension. You lost Mike Evans in the offseason. So your top receivers are Chris Godwin, who is iffy on if he can stay on the field. Emeka Egbuka, who showed flashes and was really good. Now he's going to get another full year in the system, getting to know Baker. You got solid tight ends. Bucky Irvin's really good. The offensive line is solid. The defense is a little wishy-washy. They got some good pass rushers. The secondary is very known for getting burnt. It's going to be interesting. They will be competitive. They were competitive last year. But I think they got to be second. I do think, truly unbiased, the Panthers are going to win the division again. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to win 13 games. They have a tough-ass schedule. They got to play the Seahawks and the Broncos. And I believe the Rams as well. Like, they have a tough schedule. But Bryce is in a make-or-break-it year. We saw how he finished the year last year. Chuba Hubbard's a little banged up right now, so Jonathan Brooks, if healthy, is going to get some touches and some playing time. And that guy can be explosive. They're dealing with offensive line injuries right now. Tedero McMillan just won Offensive Rookie of the Year. Jalen Coker just got an extension and had a phenomenal playoff game last year. They signed Darren Waller. I don't know what to truly make of that. I know last year in like 6 games for the Dolphins, he scored 9 touchdowns or something. Or maybe I got the numbers reversed, but he can be a wideout threat. I think Tommy Trimble's solid. It's more so a question about who that number 3 wide receiver is going to be, whether it's going to be Leggett. I'm going to be really upset if I have to watch David Moore play more than 30-plus snaps a game. I wish they would kind of let Jimmy Horn Jr. cook just because he's explosive. He can take the top off. He can kind of do a little bit of everything. I think the whole idea was for Brad Brazel to be the wide receiver 3, but him getting hurt sets that back. And this defense, I really think, has improved. You signed Jalen Phillips. Obviously, you lose Nick Scorton, but Princely Umanyeli, I butchered the hell out of that. We're just going to call him Princely. From Ole Miss, he's been impressive. Jalen Phillips is talking highly of him. You still got Derek Brown manning the middle of that defense. Devin Lloyd is now your signal caller. He had a great year last year. He's an athletic, rangy linebacker. And you got arguably a top 5 corner duo between Mike Jackson and J.C. Horn. When they're on, they're on. I am worried about safety a little bit. Not Morig. Trevor Morig. Trevon Morig. Trevor. He's good. Is more so, is it Nick Scott? Is it going to be Lathan Ransom? I would say just roll Ransom out there because Nick Scott can get a little lost in coverage. So can Ransom, but I feel like Ransom's young enough that you can work with him and get him up there. I think Carolina is more of the complete team. I think they got less question marks outside of the offensive line. It wouldn't shock me if they go 10-7 or 9-8, but I think between them and Tampa, it's going to be close for the division, but I'm going to take the Panthers. Why not? Sue me. Sue me. So our 4 division winners is Rams, Eagles, Panthers, clock it, and Detroit. I think our other 3 wild cards is obviously going to be Seattle, Chicago, and it's either going to be the 49ers or possibly the Packers. No. Probably Cowboys. Are going to be your other 3. I think regardless of how it's all laid out, and I could be wrong, I think we're going to get a Rams and Broncos Super Bowl. One in which I'd probably pick the Rams in just because that defense can be phenomenal. Matthew Stafford's been in that game, played in that game. They're going to be fine. Could be wrong, though. But if I had to make an early prediction on Super Bowl matchup, I would probably say Rams-Broncos. And I would roll with the Rams. Now let's talk a little college football real quick. This one's probably going to be a little quicker just because I'm not going to do a whole, bracket because then we're getting into, I even hate to use the word, but, politics of playoffs. But if I just had to roll through who I think is going to win each conference and be competitive, it's probably going to be Miami in the ACC. SMU, I think, is going to be right behind them. It would not shock me if SMU plays good enough to get into the playoff. In the Big Ten, it's probably going to be between Ohio State, Michigan, Indiana, and my dark horse is, there's Oregon. My dark horse is probably USC. I think this is a year where I think Lincoln Riley can finally kind of turn that page and build up a good enough team to get in. So that's 5 teams there. ACC, that's 2. That's 7 already. We hadn't even touched the SEC yet. Where you got Georgia, Bama, LSU, I think is going to have a really good year. I understand there's a lot of controversy going around with LSU, which I don't even know where the idea came from. LSU supposedly brought in 2 guys that were on NFL rosters, got cut, and were coming back to college because of this approved rule for 5 years, 5 seasons. And these guys, starting with the class of 2022. So these guys could have got a 5th year. They were trying to come back. Now you've got the SEC, the Big Ten, the ACC, and I believe the Big 12 all banning it. So now I don't know what's going to happen there. But even outside of those 2 players, I think LSU's got a really good roster. Lane Kiffin's a great play caller. He got Ole Miss, who was also going to be really good, to the playoff. You still got Oklahoma. And we mentioned Texas. I understand the hype was big around Texas last year. I think the way we saw Arch finish the year, they can be really good. They went and got Cam Coleman. They got good running backs. The defense, I think, is going to step it up. But if I had to pick a team from the SEC, it's probably either Georgia or Texas. And then the Big 12, I'll be honest, I don't think it really matters. I just think, I don't think college football is top heavy just because you could probably take any of the top 4 to 5 teams in the SEC, top 4 to 5 teams in the Big Ten, and maybe an ACC team and be like, here's a national championship between these guys. And Notre Dame, who will probably be a top 4 seed, and their only big game is against Miami. Everybody else is a bunch of cupcakes. No disrespect to Syracuse, but a bunch of cupcakes. But I do think this college football season is going to be electric. I think the NFL season is going to be very fun. I'm excited for all the storylines to come out. I cannot wait. and I will say this real quickly, I do think for the college football games this weekend, TCU is going to win, and so is Virginia. AKA hate watches across the board. But until next week when we get back, deuces.